welcome to another episode of What's on the Pile. I'm Nathan Besner, and joining me is Shane Lee,
Hey, what's up?
Jane Belcastro,
Hello.
and Jenner.
Frickin' Coda? I mean,
Hey, maybe it's really good. None of us have seen it.
Nobody's seen it. Don't feel left out.
I mean, okay,
I've got people like crawling out of the woodwork who are saying, "Oh, I'm so glad that nobody's ever talked about that movie before this week. Nobody talked about this movie before yesterday. What the hell?"
that's why I think it might be good. There's nobody in it. I don't know anybody involved in it. It must have some merit. I mean, I know it's the Academy Awards, but still.
We'll find out at some point.
You were
saying, Nate.
Yes, this week's movie is another Oscar nominee, Jane Campion's Western about repression and toxic masculinity, The Power of the Dong, starring Benedict Cumberbatch. Unfortunate.
The
What?
Power of the Dog. The Power of the Dog.
Excuse
I
me.
think it sounded like dong.
Did you not do that on purpose?
It
Pardon-
sounded-
And that
Pardon
actually
me.
is appropriate.
Excuse me. Starring Benedict Cumberbatch. Unfortunately, we are not a timely podcast, as this episode will come out roughly 2 weeks after the Academy Awards, and by that point, this will be old news. Nobody cares anymore who won or lost the Oscars. Nobody cares about the shitty musical numbers and botched in memoriams. Everyone cares about only one thing at this point, and that is the moment Amy Schumer called Kirsten Dunst a seat filler. It's all anyone can talk about the next day, and it completely overshadows all the accomplishment of these poor rich people who are beloved like gods. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about the Oscars. I feel like just about everything was an upset.
Yeah.
Did Power of the Dog even win anything?
It won Best Director.
Best Director.
Jane Campion won.
It did it? Okay.
Yeah.
I
Campion
missed that one.
was now the third Best Director winner. Of course, the last time she was nominated was 1993 for The Piano, which probably would have won any year that she wasn't up against Schindler's List. Yeah.
That one, that was that Anna Paquin or Kirsten Dunst?
Anna Paquin.
It went yeah. That was her first Academy Award.
Yes, it was.
And
I think her only.
I think her only as well.
I mean, we like Anna Paquin. We like Anna Paquin a lot.
yeah.
I think that was her only Oscar, though.
And not the other one.
Not exactly. A lot of awards specifically for the rogue cut of X-Men: Days of Future Past.
So yeah,
I thought it. You said it.
Coda. I'm
Frickin'
shocked
Coda.
too. I did not see that coming.
And I got people crawling out of the, like I say, I got people crawling out of the woodwork on my Facebook timeline saying that's a great movie. I'm so glad that it won. It's like they've never mentioned this movie before. Nobody has ever mentioned this movie before. I was vaguely aware of it based on the 3.5-star review that it got on RogerEbert.com. Apparently, it's been streaming on Apple. Good luck even finding anything, even if you're trying to find it on Apple TV Plus. Great content, bad front end. But leaving that aside for the moment,
like as the show was going on, I started to smell an upset, but I honestly thought it was going to be Dune. It just seemed like Dune was winning everything. I mean, mostly technical awards, but also best score, best adapted screenplay.
cinematography,
Yeah, so I thought that might
production design.
because I guess Power of the Dog was the front runner. I thought Dune was going to take it, but I wasn't expecting Coda.
No.
Nobody expected Coda. Nobody's ever seen Coda.
So
Name
it's on
some-
Apple
name one-
TV.
Yeah, name one person you know who has said to you in person to say, "Oh yeah, I saw that. It was a great freaking movie."
I saw the little screen up on the Apple TV, and that's all I know about it. That's all I've seen about it.
I still don't even know what it's about.
Children
Something-
of deaf adults. Yeah.
Okay.
Although apparently the gentleman who won Best Supporting Actor was also I believe, fellow who played the lead warrior Tusken on the Book of Boba Fett,
Oh, cool.
and also was instrumental in kind of creating the Tusken language that they used in it. So that's an
Nice.
interesting bit of intertextuality, leaning back to our side of the fence. But yeah, nobody's freaking seen this movie.
Well, Nate, you've got a 3-month code for Apple TV Plus.
Yeah, that's
so you
right.
can watch it.
I can watch it.
Everybody has a 3-month code for
I
Apple
I
TV
had
Plus. If you buy a
18 months
television
straight.
or if you buy a television or a streaming device, you buy a $23 or $24 Roku stick or a Roku dongle, you will get a 3-month code for Apple TV Plus.
Oh,
Everyone has one.
that's
Everyone
what I
has
should have done.
multiples of them at this
Yeah,
point.
I had it for over a year and a half, and it finally ran out. But
The
they didn't
power
have
of
much
the
back then.
dongle.
They had, they had Mythic Quest and Ted Lasso, so I got to enjoy those during my free trial.
Yeah, Ted
Well,
Lasso.
I mean, I can't emphasize enough. There's a lot of
Okay.
fantastic content on Apple TV Plus. Like Greyhound was an absolutely terrific sort of naval combat procedural.
Central Park.
Central Park is really neat. Finch with Tom Hanks was good. There's a lot of good stuff in there. It's almost impossible to find stuff if you're looking for it unless it's absolutely the most recent episode of the show that they want you to watch.
But yeah, it was very confusing to navigate. Even while I was watching like Ted Lasso, I would fire it up and it wouldn't go to like next episode of Ted Lasso. I had to look for it.
Yeah, and it kept defaulting to like 6 minutes before the end of the last episode that you watched.
Yeah, that too.
I mean, people give HBO Max shit about having a slightly dodgy front end. It's got nothing on the sheer, zig and zag of the Apple TV Plus front end. Great content, though. A lot of really fantastic stuff in there.
Are you watching it on an Apple TV device or on like a Roku with an Apple TV app?
I'm using my Xbox.
We're watching it on the app on a Roku.
Okay.
I do have an Apple TV device, and I don't think we've really given it a shot on that.
Because the interface is like completely different on an Apple TV device. It's
They want you to dig into their hardware when you suffer their software.
Yep.
It's super expensive, but
it's super expensive. If you're very deep in Apple proprietary apps like Apple Fitness or Apple Music or Apple TV Plus, I guess they gave it the good front end there.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you want everything but everything converted into faux Dolby Vision HDR, the Apple TV may be the device for you.
Yeah, we just got one a couple of weeks ago, and mostly because I wanted something that would work with my watch for fitness. So
it has a very fine video processor, I am told. I don't know that it is twice as good as a Roku Ultra, because it costs twice as much as a Roku Ultra does. I don't think I would go that far.
I will say the interface is like buttery smooth when you use the thing. It's really, really nice. I just don't use it. I don't use it at all. I use my Roku because it can do more.
It's such a nice operating system.
Yeah.
I have it on 2 TVs and 2 separate devices.
But all that being said is I turn on the Apple TV and it asks me if I want to connect my watch, and I'm like, yeah. And then I exercise, and it's great. And it shows me my calories counted.
Apple people gonna Apple. So the Oscars.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. What else happened at the Oscars?
Well, I mean, I'm glad that they got out of the purely technical awards for Dune. The recognition for Zimmer's score, much as I liked Toto's better, and the cinematography, much as I like Freddie Francis's better, were absolutely justified. And the production design. Yeah, I mean, it was a weird year for movies overall, so I can absolutely see that as well. Sound was the no-brainer. Sound was the one that always goes to the most popular movie in the program as a whole.
I can safely say
Michael Bay movies get sound awards.
Yeah.
I can safely say I haven't seen a single movie that won any acting award. I don't think I even know what any other than. I mean, Coda was one of them, but I don't really even know what any of them are about. Well, King Richard, I guess I know what that one's about, but Best Actress, Supporting Actress, Best Actress, Supporting Actress, haven't seen any of them.
Yeah, not seeing West Side Story. Who was the Best Actress again?
Jessica Chastain for something. I don't remember. I don't even know.
Oh, it was Tammy Faye.
Eyes of Tammy Faye, which I'm told
I want to see.
I actually want to see that. It's been on my list for a bit. I haven't gotten around to it yet. I have to allow. I was just momentarily, I'm sure I'll get over it, a little soured on Jessica Chastain after having seen the absolute fiasco that was the 355.
That was garbage. It was hot, stinking garbage.
We've heard about this before.
Yeah, we can't stop. We can't stop dissing it.
But it's just so unutterably bad in a way that you generally don't see in relatively A-list productions anymore. It's one of those things that's not supposed to happen if you have a sensible line producer.
See, you're generally positive on movies, far more positive than I am in a lot of ways. So when I
I
hear there's
know.
something that you hate that vehemently, it makes me want to see it so badly.
Well, Jessica Chastain's shoes in the show were like top notch.
Her shoes
Not like she
are
should be able to
absolutely
walk or
fantastic
run
from
or do anything,
beginning to
but
end. I will absolutely give it that.
damn.
Might
Those are some great
mind
shoes.
some humor out of this thing if it's that bad.
Well, it's like I say, it's laughably bad until it becomes offensively bad. Like in your face, oh, did I trigger you? Bad.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, no, it's worth a look as a useful, illustrative counterexample.
I do like that they ended up performing We Don't Talk About Bruno to sort of acknowledge that they nominated the wrong song. Like, nobody, I don't even know what the other song is from Encanto, but they, that's the one that Bruno's the one that everybody's talking about. So they performed that one, even though it wasn't nominated.
And they performed it at 10 o'clock at night when all the kids were in bed.
That was my first time ever hearing that song, believe it or not. I've never seen the movie. I've never heard. I've heard about the song. I've heard about Bruno and the movie. Haven't seen the movie. Hadn't heard the song until then.
Ironically, given that I actually had this conversation with a coworker at work earlier today, ironically, given that we don't talk about Bruno, everybody's fucking talking about Bruno all the damn time. Of course, I mentioned this to her, and then she launches into, let it go, better or worse. It's like, point taken.
There is an internet subculture around this song on YouTube that is fascinating to me because Amelia watches these videos, and a lot of them just replace the word Bruno with rats. So it says, we don't talk about rats, and every time it says Bruno, it says rat. So it's just, they get really into rats showing up on the screen, and it's almost like Teen Titans Go, the way the animation is done. It's really insane, and it all came out of this one song, and I find that fascinating that that's where our culture is headed.
I gotta check it out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the culture has been descending toward a few primary sources and an extraordinary proliferation of derivative products, he said on a podcast that is both audio and video on YouTube talking about movies. The derivative products, even in terms of actual running time, far outweigh the primary sources at this point.
Yeah. Everybody's got an opinion.
Like I say, I look at this as my current replacement for a social life in the age we live in.
Yeah.
The fact that it produces a program that people who are not on it is listening to is a pleasant byproduct. Hi, Skip. Hi, Justin.
Well, did we want to discuss the slap at all? I was talking about this with Shane before the show, and I don't give a shit personally. That's the side that I'm on. Is I just don't give a shit about this whole thing, and I'd prefer to just talk about the movies. But at the same time, it's such it changed this Oscars in such a way that it became a culturally relevant moment that we should probably discuss.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been as culturally relevant if it hadn't happened.
Yeah.
And part of me was like, was it staged? I don't think it was, but I mean,
It would have been a very different moment if Will Smith had used his words. Hell, if Jada Pinkett Smith had used her words.
Mm-hmm.
I am very limited in the degree to which I am reasonably permitted to have a take on this. It's an exchange between two black men regarding a black woman. I can simply, I'm going to point to the meme that turned up almost instantly, which I will go with, and I'll agree with the person who was posting it, who was saying, this is the only take that matters to me, which was that the Wikipedia editor for the entry on Macbeth noted that Chris Rock had been on stage at the Oscars and had almost immediately previously mentioned the title of the Scottish play and was almost immediately slapped by Will Smith.
Explains it.
Yeah,
right there.
That's it. That one's true.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, it's There's a lot of should have fucking known better, but it's really not my place to say particularly.
It made for great television.
It was great
Yeah.
television.
I mean-
It was freaking spectacular, especially in Japan and Australia where it wasn't censored.
Yeah, mine wasn't even censored. Mine, right after the slap, it went silent, and then it stuttered for several seconds, like maybe 10
That
seconds.
was the censorship.
Yeah. It,
Mm.
Yeah.
it was just a shot of Chris Rock staring, and then it jumped to an earlier shot of Chris Rock standing there, and then it resumed with I guess a silent clip of you could see Will Smith saying what he said from the seat, but you couldn't hear it. That was what I saw.
The what actually happened almost immediately turned up on Twitter, mostly through Japanese and Australian feeds.
That's how we
and-
saw it.
Yeah, that. We saw the Japanese first, but we didn't hear the joke leading up to it, which made it a little bit out of context.
It was totally the slap heard round the world. so-
Yeah.
And then, of course, Will Smith went on to win the best actor Oscar, which was
That's
And
so
it-
odd.
an interesting measure of cringe in its own right in his speech.
Yeah.
Well, even that aside, was he a front runner? I wasn't even expecting him to win. I don't know who. I don't know who I thought was going to win. I wasn't expecting Will Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it would have helped if any of us had actually seen King Richard, but realistically, it didn't feel like something that was going anywhere, so surprise.
Yeah.
I'd have to report back on some of these outliers, but I mean, realistically, I mean, you may actually have to play canary in the coal mine on us in this, Shane, because we mostly watch like way the hell out there. Either I'm big on horror movies. We're all big on science fiction movies. Occasionally, bizarro comedies. But I mean, we just saw, An Evening with Beverly Luff Lynn for the first time, for pity's sake.
So good.
And after some initial humps, really loved it. The point is, we watch strange stuff. You actually seem to be closer to sort of the mainstream of the art house than the rest of us a lot of the time, Shane.
Maybe. I'm not a really big biopic person, though. I can't think of the last one that I was really compelled to go watch. So it just wasn't on my radar, really.
Well, okay. I'm just saying you might get to some of the rest of this just on general principle before the rest of us.
I mean, I do want to see Coda. I mean, that's
Yeah.
I
definitely
am
high on
now
my list
curious about Coda simply because I'm told it is a very nice movie. It's a problem when the movie that gets the Best Picture Oscar is universally or almost universally described as a nice movie or a feel-good movie.
That's perfect for Best Picture, according to the Academy Awards. A safe bet.
Green Book, anyone?
I've never even seen Green Book. I've heard it wasn't worth it.
I've heard enough about it to be offended by its very existence.
And it was directed by a Farrelly brother.
And
of
I'm
all
sure
people.
it's performed spectacularly. I mean, if you put Viggo Mortensen and Mahershala Ali in a movie, it is going to be well acted. This is the proverbial, I could watch those guys reading the phone book for 2 hours, and it would probably be well acted. The thing is, it would probably also be, by all accounts, a better movie than Green Book. Just because the phone book isn't so fucking patently disingenuous. The phone book tells it like it is, man.
I don't remember Green Book at all. Not even a little bit.
A black guy making a white guy realize that he's been a bastard.
Okay. That's it?
That's about all I know about it.
That's about it.
All right.
Aside from that, some traveloguing.
Yeah, and I think either Peter or Bobby Farrelly directed it.
I believe it was Peter. I don't think Bobby has done a lot.
Never been a fan.
They
Farrelly
had
brothers?
their moment. They keep trying to kind of reinvent themselves. I mean, recall that I guess it was, I want to say David Zucker went from Top Secret to Ghost.
Yeah.
I mean, Adam McKay went from Talladega Nights to Don't Look Up, and what was the other one? The Big Short.
Well, okay, that's fair. Well, I mean, Adam McKay has actually kind of morphed into one of our more effective social commentators. But at the same time, there was such a core of intelligence in a lot of the stuff that he was doing earlier that you got the feeling that he was sort of straining at the bonds of what I've been referring to for, criminy, damn near 2 decades now as the quote-unquote stupid comedy. Not a comedy that is stupid per se, but a comedy that is based around a certain premise of stupidity.
I love Talladega Nights.
Talladega Nights was
come
fantastic.
at you like a spider monkey, Chip.
Talladega Nights was fantastic. The Anchorman movies were fantastic.
Oh my God.
You know, kind of the heart of that whole field was the McKay and Will Ferrell collaborations from around that time. But you got the feeling that McKay was a lot more of an artist than that genre particularly supported. He wanted to say something more, so he ended up segueing into a number of, I think, pretty relentlessly entertaining movies. I love The Big Short. I like Vice. I like Don't Look Up. But I mean, I go back to, I really, really love The Big Short. I think it's an absolutely riveting piece of filmmaking.
I still haven't seen it.
It's really good.
Cool.
Not least because it looks like that shit's happening again in the same way.
No.
For the same reason. Anyway.
Slightly different reason now with the rentals being bought up by private corporations. But let's stop talking about that. That's not about movies.
why don't we transition over to our question of the week? Let's see. What are your Eureka moments? As in the moments where you realized what a movie was doing that you weren't expecting it to do or to be. Do you want to? Let's start with Hsien.
Okay, well, mine's pretty easy. Mine's basically figuring out a twist movie by watching the trailer in the theater. And this is a movie this was Identity by James Mangold, starring John Cusack, Amanda Peet, some other people. I figured out during the trailer that they're all the same person in someone's head. And I went to see the movie. It still looked really good. I thought it was going to be like a thriller. It was a fucking slasher. And a pretty scary one at that, if you ask me. Especially at the time. And I fucking hated it. I was mad at the theater. I was mad for the trailer for misleading me and getting me in that seat and subjecting me to a scary movie. And I was furious and miserable and fucking hated it. Nowadays, I think I would maybe probably not react that way to it, but
I would
it's been a
like
long
that
time.
movie better if not for the very, very last twist at the end, which I did kind of call a little bit before it happened. But at the same time, it's a wind-up machine. I didn't actually carry anything terribly monumental away from it.
I hated that movie. I
did
I
too.
hated it because of its the way it treated mental health. Was way too over the top for me.
That's fair.
That's not how multiple personalities work. That's only how it works in the movies, and I couldn't get over that dumb movie.
Like I say, it's a wind-up trope machine.
Mm-hmm.
It was well executed. The problem arguably was with the script.
Mm-hmm. I would agree
Anyway,
with that.
that was mine.
No, but you were mistaken. I actually don't particularly like that movie, Hsien.
Oh, okay.
You mentioned it that there was a movie you were going to talk about before the show that you hated and that I probably like. I know I don't particularly like that movie.
Okay, fair enough. Then maybe I don't need to rewatch it.
Yeah.
I mean, now that I'm more like inoculated to horror movies.
Well,
maybe
it's one
not
of
worth
those
going
ones
back to.
where, aside from the cleverness of its construction, it has no actual substance to it. It's once you've seen it, you've seen it. It has no further anything to reveal to you.
We've talked more about it than anybody else in the history of time.
Very probably. It's like, oh yeah, I remember that movie. I saw it.
Yep.
That's the reaction people have to that movie.
If they remember it at all.
There may be a very small contingent that actually realized it was a slasher movie and are actually chalking it up on their good kill versus bad kill board. But that's doubtless going to be a very, very far outlier.
Jane, why don't you go next?
I don't know. I mean, the only thing that really comes to mind is, of course, going to go see The Sixth Sense, not knowing what the surprise was. But sure enough, we sat down, watched 10 minutes of it. I lean over to my husband and say, hey, guess what? Bruce Willis must be dead. And then we both sat there bored and angry the whole time. He was angry at me. I was angry at the movie.
You know what's really funny? Is that's mine too.
Oh,
nice.
Sorry.
Yeah. Except I did it to my mom. She went to see the movie with me and I leaned over and was like, this is so stupid. He's dead. It's so obvious.
Yeah.
And I still think it was incredibly obvious. I mean, the kid says, "I see dead people in the fucking trailer."
Yeah, and you see he has the same white stripe that the guy had before he shot, the same white stripe in his hair
Oh,
as
I
the
didn't
guy
even.
that shot him at the beginning. That's what tipped me off.
Yeah, I
So,
just figured
yeah.
he died from the gunshot, and
Yeah,
I
me
see
too.
dead people means the end.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's been things like that, and unfortunately, Jenner knows I have a big mouth. If I figure something out, I'm gonna lean over and go, "Guess what?" And then, he's like, "Thanks."
Sometimes it's like, oh. Sometimes like, oh, God damn it.
It's not that it happens often enough.
Oh,
because I memorized every trope and
speaking of which,
but most.
I had the same experience with Shyamalan's The Village and hated the rest of the movie as well. I was like, oh, this is modern day. This is stupid. And then
don't even make me start with my rant on The Village. Going back to The Sixth Sense, I actually love The Sixth Sense. Granted, I read a capsule review in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, our local newspaper, that said that it had a twist. Because I've seen Jacob's Ladder, I immediately knew what the twist was. So I ended up going into it pretending to not know what the twist was and just kind of enjoying it as an acting, writing, and sort of characterization showcase. And on that level, I actually enjoyed it quite well. I am very good at ignoring stuff that I know.
Yeah.
Wait, Jay,
for the sake of a movie, trying to give it a fair
You did spoil
shake.
something for me, only because I was in complete denial. The Owl House. It's a children's show, and Jenner's all like, "Oop."
Don't spoil it. I'm watching it currently.
Okay, it's great, isn't it?
It is. It's so good.
It's so good.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll discuss it later.
Okay.
But yeah, he
not
pointed
exactly a
something
twist,
out
it's
to me,
just
and I
an
was like,
angle.
no, I don't want it to happen. I don't want it to happen. And unfortunately, he was right.
I like that ship. Anyway,
stop.
Leaving that aside for the moment.
I didn't say I didn't like it. I just didn't really think it was I don't know. It's just I don't know. It's a kids show. Never mind. I'm gonna sound bad
anything with Wendy Malick is not 100% kids appropriate.
Well, that's true, but I love her.
Yeah.
Oh man. Dye my hair white. Well, not white, but blonde. Back to blonde, just for that. Because man.
Yeah, she's great. I still remember the first time I became aware of her was Dream On, and I want to do a rewatch of that show very badly.
Brian Benben never had the career he should have.
No, he didn't.
His episode of Masters of Horror, the one that John Landis directed, Dear Woman, was so freaking good.
Yeah, he was great in it too.
He was fantastic in it. Like, I miss that guy. I wish he would do more stuff.
Yeah. Who's he married to?
I don't even know.
It's like Madeline Stowe or somebody.
Okay, one could do worse, dude.
I don't think it is Madeline Stowe, but it's just a random name. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's married to somebody cool.
Well, good for him.
Madeline Stowe. It is Madeline Stowe. I just looked it up.
Rad.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Since 1982.
So they just hang out being awesome these days is what they're doing.
Right. Like,
fuck, good for them.
I think he became a kept man.
I think she became a kept woman, so they're probably good.
Yeah.
I think most of the money was hers, but they're probably just, sitting back and chilling and just being awesome.
We're
they're
rich
both
enough.
awesome. Anyway.
Will the Jenner have one?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I got a few odd examples around. Like I say, there are plenty of instances I can think of where I called a twist relatively early. There are less instances where I felt particularly proud about it. What I meant by the original question, because I'm going to freely allow that this one was mine, was I was thinking more along the lines of where a movie appeared to be one sort of thing, but it turned out to be another. Like the example, the thing that I was particularly thinking of when I came up with the question was the film from, I want to say 2016 or somewhere thereabouts, called Mark Felt, The Man Who Brought Down the White House, with Liam Neeson as the guy who was Deep Throat from the Watergate affair. Looked like, just on paper, an exceedingly dry, straightforward docudrama type, historical thing. It turns out that the way that it is shot, the way that it is edited, the way that it is scored, and even the way that it is acted and scripted, it is 100%, deep gray film noir, which I thought was unexpected and actually quite wonderful. It's a movie that I went into because, frankly, I got it for $1 at the Dollar Tree, and have ended up recommending to quite a lot of people since then who actually have an interest both in American history, particularly American intrigue, as well as film noir in general. It's a film that I was not expecting to be able to recommend as highly as I could for film buffs. Other example, the moment that I realized that, I think I may have mentioned this like roundabout way last week, the moment that I realized that Sphere, the 1998 Barry Levinson, Michael Crichton adaptation, is an underwater remake of Forbidden Planet. Like, full stop, no qualifiers. It's just Forbidden Planet. And again, felt a little bit smug about that. There was one other one that particularly stuck with me where I felt especially freaking clever. I don't know, I had it on the tip of my brain a moment ago. It's, I don't know, when somebody does something that appears to be one sort of movie, but it turns out to be something else altogether. Kind of like, so I suppose sort of the gold standard of that is probably going to be the Vol Luton thrillers from RKO in the 40s, where you go in expecting, werecats, and it turns out it's a movie about marital frigidity. The Leopard Man turns out to be a bizarro hybrid between slasher movie and film noir, just after the film noir became a thing and decades before slasher movies became a thing. I Walked with a Zombie is a remake of Jane Eyre.
Yeah.
All right.
Actually, The Body Snatcher is something I could have mentioned last week, talking about something that is vastly superior to its literary source material. I don't know, it's that kind of thing where you expect one kind of movie, and it turns out that it is done in a style that you were not expecting. That's one of those things that I always find is a distinct low-key pleasure a lot of the time, which I think may actually end up being something that we circle back on in our second half for Power of the Dong. Sorry, Power of the Dog, which ended up having a very particular literary referent that I wasn't expecting it to remind me of. So I imagine that's probably something we'll get back to.
Yeah, well, on that, why don't we go ahead and take our break? We will be right back. And we're back. Next up, we'll be talking about Jane Campion's The Power of the Dong, a tense Western about repression and toxic masculinity, among other things. Starring Benedict Cumberbatch, Kirsten Dunst, Cody Smith-McPhee, and Jesse Plemons. What did everybody think of The Power of the Dong?
I will straight up say that Shane's been mentioning it for a while. It was even better than he described as being good. I mean, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was
This was
super
really
satisfying.
good.
Yeah.
On every level, it was satisfying.
It was a meaty film.
It was.
This actually would end up in my top 10 of the year. Granted, probably in the lower half, but most of my movies from the upper half weren't even on the Oscars contention list this year.
Yeah, so I remember when I first saw this. So this came out around the same time as Don't Look Up, and that very night I was going to watch Don't Look Up, and then someone told me that it wasn't good, so I went and watched this instead. I thought I was trading in a fun comedy for, a depressing melodrama. I would watch this 10 times before I ever watched Don't Look Up again. Again, I think Don't Look Up is a good movie, but that movie made me so miserable. I mean, this is not a happy movie either, but this is something I would, love to sit down and watch, multiple times.
Yeah, I mean, amongst other things, it is an absolutely physically beautiful movie. The photography is amazing, and if Dune hadn't existed last year, it probably would have been a very, very high contender for that Best Cinematography award. Granted, that's one of those ones that often cedes as a default to westerns in any case. But no, it is a beautifully photographed film. The scoring by Johnny Greenwood.
Great score.
Yeah, great score.
I was rooting for him last night. I would just love for the guitars from Radiohead to have an Oscar. I mean, if Trent Reznor can do it, Johnny Greenwood can do it.
Give it time. Give it time.
Yeah, I mean, he does all the PTA's movies. I don't know if he did Licorice Pizza or not, but he probably did. But
I'm not sure who
his score for There Will Be Blood was amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I actually thought it reminded me, the score of this one reminded me a little bit of the There Will Be Blood score.
It did a bit.
Just in certain spots. I love the score. I loved how it takes you on a kind of roller coaster of tension. It's a very emotional score. Following through those kind of just the it's like it's like fog in the air around all the characters. The way it works. I really like that music. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, and watching through this the second time, knowing where the movie was going, it was really interesting. The first time, I felt like I think you're set up to think that Benedict Cumberbatch is into Kirsten Dunst and is jealous of him and her and his brother. At least that was my take on it.
I didn't get that, but that's interesting. You could totally do that.
I did think that he was jealous, but I thought he was jealous of didn't want her, wanted his brother. Didn't want her in his life because he wanted his brother all to himself.
Yeah, there was a definite aspect of possessiveness to that relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty implicit. Like, you ain't taking my punching bag. Only I get my punching bag.
I have a question, and this is going to jump into the meat of the movie, and I'd really like to just start tearing it open and really talk.
Spoiler alert!
Spoiler alert!
Spoiler alert! So I'm led to believe, and I think it's blatantly true, but we'll see if anybody else agrees, that Bronco Henry abused Phil as a child.
I think so. And the age gap there, I mean, he's been dead for 20 years, over 20 years based on the dates. And I guess Benedict Cumberbatch's character must have been like maybe, he said he was around the kid's age, so maybe 15.
I thought he was 17.
That
could have been wrong. I thought he was about 17.
That is certainly an implicit possibility. It never really fully tips the hat as to whether it was a hero or romantic worship on Bronco Henry purely on Phil's part, keynoted by the point where they cuddled to survive a blizzard. Which actually recalls an episode of Taxi back in the day.
Yeah, but you don't think him masturbating with Bronco Henry's scarf was a big tip off?
Well, no, that's the thing is it may have just been him. The sexual component to it all really may have just been him. The movie never really tips the hat. It's certainly a distinct possibility.
See, I kind of got the idea that he was, because he was in my mind, he was grooming Cody Smith-McPhee.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And
that was his intention.
Again, definitely just a little bit ambiguous.
It was, because I wasn't sure about that, because I thought Phil had been caught, swimming naked and had all this, homosexual porn, that he was like, I better get the kid on my side. I better get Pete to like me.
It's either get the kid on my side or figure out a way to handle him later. But if he had figured out a way to handle him later, then it came too late because the kid had figured out a way to handle him a lot sooner.
So satisfying. That ending was just amazingly satisfying.
The line that I think stuck out for both of us, Jane, was the bit where Cody Smith-McPhee's character says, that my dad didn't think I was kind enough. He thought I was too strong. And Phil, got the wrong takeaway there, which was just to scoff at the whole, you're too strong. It's the not kind enough. The implication that the kid's father basically realized relatively early on that he had some distinct psychopathic tendencies.
Mhm.
There are a lot of hats that are not tipped in this movie, but they're not tipped in a very satisfying way, to the point
Right.
where it leaves a measure of ambiguity that I can embrace, but it leaves a measure of narrative catharsis that Jane can embrace, if I
Oh,
may be so
yeah.
bold as to speak for you there.
I mean,
No,
watching,
agree.
watching it the second time, I mean, the way the kid, the looks he gives, the way he plays with his comb, that's knowing what's going to happen. That's some serial killer shit. Like that,
Yeah.
it was much more menacing this time around, as opposed to just being like, just a quirky, awkward kid. No, there's
It
stuff
was
going on.
menacing.
See,
And at the
that
same-
kid,
and it-
yeah,
the
that
whole
kid fucking
time.
terrified me the entire
Yeah.
movie. That's why I didn't get as much satisfaction out of the ending, because I was kind of
Oh.
creeped out.
Oh no, see, to me, Phil was such this discordant, horrible kind of person to everybody. I mean, he even his smell
Oh, you could
was
smell him the entire
disturbing.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was disturbing, and then Pete got rid of that disturbing bit, that disturbing, horrible person, and everything was a happy ending. That's all I needed. That was all I needed.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
it's telling that Kirsten Dunst and Jesse Plemons never actually kissed in the movie until after Phil was gone, like the
Mhm.
very end of the movie.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's the kid taking a very serial killer approach to editing the discordant aspects of his existence.
the opening line was, my only thoughts were making my mother happy or something like that.
Yeah. No, it's another one of those movies that that tells you exactly where it's going at the beginning of the movie, and then spends the next hour and a half attempting to make you forget that opening.
Mm.
Which has been a thing that I've seen a lot lately. The recent very fantastic sort of werewolf movie, The Cursed, actually did something very similar. A lot of movies are kind of telegraphing everything in the first third, but carrying it across so effectively in the latter parts that we kind of don't mind that it gets telegraphed. Again, individual mileage is going to vary on that one, but I do highly recommend The Cursed. Just
Oh, me
leaving that
too.
aside for the moment.
Well,
Me too.
I mean, I think the way it telegraphed was, for me at least, it misled me. I thought we were set up for a tragedy involving the kid and the mother. As soon as Phil laid eyes on the kid, I was like, oh, this kid is fucked. This is going to end horribly for the kid and probably for the mother.
No, it's a good halfway into the movie after having spent a lot of noxious time in the company of Phil Burbank, Esquire, that we realize that not only is this a rumination on toxic masculinity or the idea of the quote-unquote natural man as inherently homoerotic, but ultimately that we're actually leaning into, well, this is that bit where I was where I was going to circle back from earlier. Essentially, sort of a Patricia Highsmith-esque instance of multiple double and triple crossing, and at the same time, a barely covert queer sexuality bubbling ferociously to the surface and being used and being weaponized by one character or another. It's a fascinating film to unpack. I'm a little bit concerned that in the present climate it can be read as a variation on the kill your gays trope or the untrustworthy homosexual.
No, Pete saw an opening. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
he had.
I'm not
like I
thinking.
said,
I'm not thinking of Pete here so much as Phil.
Well, yeah, but Pete saw a weapon that he could use,
Yeah.
because I think he was experienced with his friend the professor, and he had a little romance at school, and he was like feeling himself, and he's like, I'm confident, I'm good, and then the minute he gets a chance,
I
to
can trap
seduce
this
Phil,
bitch.
yeah, he went. He was like, you know what? I'm gonna drag this out. I'm gonna make him trust me. I'm gonna make him kind of not think too much, and then boom. That was so good. Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, I did figure out the whole anthrax leather.
Yeah, that was the bit. That was the
my
bit you
Eureka
called
moment
directly.
there.
And yeah, no, it's.
It's like, hey, that's the anthrax leather.
Yeah, no. This is an elegantly constructed suspense film disguised as a melodrama. That's kind of my takeaway in this case. I appreciate it for that. If it was just a frontier melodrama, I wouldn't have been nearly so riveted.
I loved each of the characters. I thought that with very little information other than what was happening at any given moment, we're not given a ton of backstory. We're led to creating the backstory in our minds ourselves. It's all hinted at, and they still feel like fully fleshed out real characters. Each and every one of them. George, I could relate with that character. Being kind of under the thumb of the narcissist in the family, dealing with that kind of thing. The way he dealt with it is very similar to the way I deal with it, which is to stutter a little bit and and not confront. To feel bad when you have to ask somebody to wash up, even though they smell like shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Well, I mean this is an absolute actor's showcase. It is not for nothing that all four of the main leads, I believe, were nominated for best actor or best or acting Oscars. I think except for Plemons, which is a pity because
no, he was.
He was.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
He and
both of them
were both in
Okay.
supporting. Yeah.
That's probably what got the supporting actor category is they split the vote. Now, Plemons, I think, is rapidly turning into the present-day Philip Seymour Hoffman. Rest his soul.
Yeah, and I think he's the lead of the next Scorsese movie. I mean, I've loved him since Friday Night Lights, and then Breaking Bad, and then he's did a lot of comedies and stuff. But
I've seen him here and there. He really came onto my radar with his episode of Black Mirror, which admittedly was a frigging amazing episode. But no, the acting is amazing. I love that the kid from Let Me In now has an Academy Award nomination. It's an absolute actor's showcase, and it's an interesting mix of acting, Kirsten Dunst, underacting, Plemons, McPhee, and overacting just enough, which is Cumberbatch, who absolutely makes a meal of this.
He's very good at that.
He's very good at that. He's he sucks up the air in every scene that he's in, but that's what his character does. That is the nature of the role. He doesn't overact his overacting, if that makes any sense.
It seems like having never acted myself, that seems like a really fun role to play. Just be the dick and just terrorize every scene. And
apparently he didn't
really
bathe
got
for
into
it. He went full method and didn't bathe for a while, but quickly gave that up, but wouldn't let anybody wash his clothes and a few other. Yeah, wow.
He and Kirsten Dunst didn't speak at all on set, apparently.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I just realized that Jesse Plemons is not married to, but partners with Kirsten
they've been
Dunst.
together since they played husband and wife in season 2 of Fargo. And,
I didn't watch it, but
they've been
still
together
neat,
ever
huh?
since. Yeah.
Need to get back to the Fargo TV series at some point.
Haven't seen the 4th season with Chris Rock, right?
That's the one I wanted to get around to, particularly because, controversial as it may be at the moment, I really like Chris Rock. I really adore Chris Rock.
Yeah, I do too.
Is that really that controversial?
To like Chris Rock? As an actor, he's all right.
That bad joke has gotten more than just the obvious blowback, but leaving that aside for the moment. No, the acting in this is exemplary. The direction in this is exemplary. If Coda, I realized that we were talking, or I particularly was talking a lot of shit about this in advance of it, in advance of actually seeing it, and in advance of the Oscars, in the expectation that it all seemed to be that all that anybody was talking about as a front runner. Either Coda really is an amazingly good movie, or more likely, this kind of got robbed, as did many other movies. I'm still going to go with my favorite of the movies that were actually nominated for Best Picture this year would probably be Nightmare Alley, but that was never going to win.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. Was my favorite of the nominees that I've seen. But yes, that was never going to win anything. Well, maybe not anything, but it was never going to win Best Picture.
Yeah.
Power of the Dog ended up being my favorite out of all these that we've watched so far.
It's a close
I just
second for
really
me.
loved it.
Yeah.
I'll
Which I'm
freely allow.
shocked
I think it may have actually had more meat to it than Nightmare Alley. It's just Nightmare Alley had, I think, a lot more technique of a type that I appreciate.
Yeah.
There
are no wrong answers here.
I couldn't possibly pick between the two, and I know it's not the popular choice, but I still like Don't Look Up. But I'm not saying it's my favorite of all three of them. I'm just saying I really enjoyed it.
I mean, realistically, if any of us had diktat over what actually got nominated for Oscars, it would be a very different list indeed.
Yeah, One Cut of the Dead would have been up there.
Absolutely.
Maybe not
100%.
maybe not for this year, but
for the year it came out.
For this year, Pig.
Pig.
Oh yeah.
Sweep.
Another good one. So she had a very, very small role. I don't even know what she was, like a housekeeper or something. But Thomasin McKenzie, I don't know.
Yes.
She was the lead in Last Night in Soho. It was terrific, which kind of went underseen. Came out Halloween weekend and still somehow flopped. I guess a lot of people didn't even know it was Edgar Wright.
It was one of those ones that felt like an obvious sell, but then the early word from people who were expecting the obvious didn't kind of go over. I loved it. I know that your mileage on it was a little bit more middling, Jane. I know you liked it.
I liked it. I thought it was very stylish. It was, I don't know, a little too tense for me in ways that I didn't.
That's Don't Look Up. That's how it was.
No, that's fine. I mean, weirdly, that one wasn't tense. I was like, I
mean, again,
so
individual
realistic.
mileage would vary. My Best Actress award for last year would have been Rebecca Hall in The Night House. So, what the fuck do I know? I mean, granted, that was actually a fantastic movie in its own right. Fucking see that. Make no mistake. But that's the guy who's doing the new Hellraiser. I'm pumped.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Just some wonderful acting, some beautiful cinematography. I really love this film. I couldn't recommend it enough now that we've told everybody everything that happens in it. And
we didn't tell them how it happened.
It's one of those ones that takes quite a while to figure out what kind of movie it was. But particularly once I got what kind of movie it was and what the plot was, I was all in.
I mean, I would watch it a second time. It's a different movie the second time now that you know what's happening. I mean, see, I had no idea the first time going in, and even up until the very end, I didn't know where the movie was headed.
Well, that's it. It's the pacing, and one of the other interesting things about the movie is the way that it sort of ellipsizes the time frame, so that you don't realize that you're now months later, but there you are. But no, I think that actually works as much as anything else. There's that phrase again. I think that's one of those things that works for kind of establishing the lived-inness of the characters, along with all of the other kind of joys of the movie. It's a bit of a slow burn. It takes a little bit of a while to warm to it. I know you were right pissed off when Cumberbatch slapped that horse.
Yeah, I was right.
I thought about that. I thought about that during that scene. I was like, I wonder how Jane feels.
I love horses. I love them so much. And yeah,
I
never agree that.
What about him castrating 1,000 of them by hand?
Oh no, I did that. I mean, that's I mean, my dad has a cattle ranch. We did. When he came out with the penknife, I was like, oh, he's gonna castrate.
Yeah, there are some moments of this movie that are going to be rough for for and that is deliberate. That is feature, not bug.
But I mean, that's how it's even done now today. I mean, they don't take calves to the vet and have them, put out. No. They have a little coffee can full of what is that? Antibiotic or not antibiotic? Something to antiseptic. Sterilize the penknife. Boom. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Recall my standing line that I fall into the category of believing that a man should never know where his food comes from.
Anyway, sorry about that. But anyway, I'll give you a little tiny bit of trivia. Rose and Pete's last name was Gordon. That's my maiden name. So
Oh.
I was like,
So it's kind
hey,
of
'cause-
like my swell of pride watching the original Wicker Man when the missing girl's name is Morrison, and I'm like, that's my Klansman.
yeah, but see, I think it was more like, my that side of my family was from that area in that time, and I was kind of like having a little moment going, yeah.
So fantastic movie. Only 3 or 4
Excellent.
moments that will really make the gentleman's business swell right up inside the body cavity.
Or shrink.
Have you all ever heard of the Missoula, Montana Testicle Festival?
I
Yeah.
have. Was
Yeah.
that the
I
one
have-
that Chuck Palahniuk wrote about in one of his books?
Yeah,
I have not,
he
but I
was
fully
wrong.
believe that it is a thing.
Yep. You'll have a ball.
You'll have a ball.
Rocky Mountain oysters, y'all.
Yeah, delicious.
Never tried it, but yeah.
I had the opportunity when I lived there as a kid, and yeah, it's a thing you do.
Oh boy. Yeah.
I would do it.
Are
It's
they
edible.
good?
It's not going to poison you.
I was going to say,
No,
are they good with minimal garnishment, or do they want a sauce?
They want a sauce.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
That's the
I would
case with
say.
most sweetbreads.
yeah,
Yeah.
Definitely want a sauce.
White sauce or brown? Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Wow.
lot of
Lot
of
to unpack there.
penis talk this episode.
Sorry,
Which
I am so sorry.
I mean, you started it. You started this off with Power of the Dong. What do you expect?
Let's blame Nate.
the point is, the movie's queer as fuck any way you slice it, and that's in this case a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any way you slice it, good one.
Oh God,
right.
that one I didn't mean to do. I apologize for that one. Realistically, I apologize for the deliberate one, but yeah. Okay.
I don't. I think it's great. Well, why don't we transition over to my favorite activity of the podcast. Hsien is going to bring us in on another game, and Jenner's going to join him at some point. He's got one
Okay.
too.
I'll start with the movie review one, where I'm going to read some really bad reviews from this movie that we've done on the podcast. Let's see. All right. First excerpt. While the film is technically accomplished, I've never been more disgusted with a film than I was with blank. I loathe this atrocious piece of trash. If I could have rated it 0, I would. It's a terrible piece of work for which all participants should be ashamed. Second review. I knew my grandpa loved the movie and considered it his fave, and he had somewhat decent taste in movies, but this just didn't have that comedy feel to it. I walked away feeling as if I had watched a Lifetime movie of the week. Another one. Too much death and too much sadness. So very sorry I spent any money on this movie at this time. We need uplifting and funny movies now. Why don't you do it? I don't know who that was addressed to.
Wow.
Too much cussing on it. I'm reading this word for word.
Steel Magnolias.
No.
Oh.
The Exorcist.
No.
Oh.
How about
I wasn't expecting the comedy feel from The Exorcist, except, of course, that William Peter Blatty had mostly done sitcoms up to that point.
Really?
Here's maybe a giveaway. I was looking for cooking recipes and Kevin Sorbo. I don't know what that means. I got neither. 1 star. Kevin Sorbo is Hercules, right?
Yeah.
Right.
What else does he do? Cooking
He was
recipes
just
and Kevin
Hercules.
Sorbo.
He's a right-wing activist.
Yeah. And he's always in the Dragon Con parade.
Ah.
And then I figured this movie was made as a Yankee plot to make Southerners look dull and stupid.
Are you
You
sure?
sure
What?
that's Steel Magnolia?
It was not Steel Magnolias.
And not Bull Durham.
Fried green tomatoes.
It was fried green tomatoes.
Oh.
Why would
But
Kevin
that's so
Sorbo be in
good.
fried green tomatoes?
Well, they
Isn't
said they
it?
were looking for cooking recipes. Does he do cooking stuff or something?
I
No.
have
don't know.
no idea. I don't think so.
Well, fried green tomatoes, I guess they're thinking cooking.
Well,
Yeah.
they are fantastic if done correctly.
Yes, they are. I made them after we did that movie.
That's
They're
right.
so good.
So, all right, I'll do one of the ones where I'm going to name a bunch of movies, and one actor from each of these movies comprises the cast of a movie that we've done. So the first movie is A Serious Man. Coen Brothers, Serious Man. Second movie is Inception. Third movie might give it away. Third movie is The Dead Don't Die.
Hold on.
So, any actors on your mind from these 3 movies?
What was that one? What was that musical? With
Oh, Tick Tick Boom?
no, with Kylo Ren.
Yeah,
Annette.
Annette.
It was Annette.
Yes,
It was
That was
Adam Driver.
yeah.
Adam Driver, Inception.
He was in Inception?
No.
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 Marianne Cotillard was in it.
And then Serious Man, he didn't have many movies, was Simon Helberg. The only only other one I could think of was the TV set.
Yeah.
Isn't that on the
I do
pile?
love Simon Helberg.
And the Big Bang Theory, of course.
The TV set is on the pile.
Okay.
Wait, if any of you haven't seen Zero Effect, we should do that as a double feature.
That was the first DVD I ever owned. I don't have it anymore. I don't know where it is. I think my brother took it.
I know I've shown Jane Zero Effect, although she probably doesn't remember it. Have you seen Zero Effect, Nate?
That's not the one with Bill Pullman.
Yeah,
it is.
Bill Pullman,
okay, then yes, I have seen it.
Okay, so we probably can't do that, which is a pity because that movie is great.
It is great.
But I don't remember it.
It was my first time seeing. Who's the actress in that? She's been in a lot of stuff. She was in Breaking Bad. She was in Lost. No, she wasn't Breaking Bad. She was Friday Night Lights, Lost, Invisible Man, or Hollow Man.
Kim
Dickens.
Dickens.
There we go. That was my first time seeing her.
Jesus, the database is spread thin these days.
All right, so
yeah.
Those
like I say, I know you guys don't agree, but Annette was actually my number 2 for last year.
Yeah, that movie.
Granted, there's a lot of stuff I still haven't seen. I still need to see Titan. I really think I'm probably going to like that. Palme d'Or winner.
Okay.
Yeah. The one about the one about the serial killer who fucks a car, gets pregnant, and hides out as a man with a guy who thinks that she's his son.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So, Jenna, do you want to do yours?
Yeah. Like I say, hopefully this is not too easy, but not too hard.
So, is this a movie we've done on the podcast?
This is a movie we have done on the podcast. Okay. Melancholia.
Bill Skarsgård, Charlotte Gainsbourg,
Zardoz.
Sean Connery. Have we done a Sean Connery movie? Who else is in?
Time Bandits.
I didn't watch that one.
That was the misdirect.
Oh.
Star Wars: The Force Awakens. And probably a giveaway, although I think it may actually be on our list for the show.
Adam Driver.
Lady Bird.
Lady Bird?
Yeah.
Little Women?
Nope. Good guess, though.
Dune.
Yes.
Oh.
Okay, so it was Stellan Skarsgård for
Melancholia.
Force Awakens was
Force Awakens was Oscar Isaac.
Yeah.
Although the misdirect was Max von Sydow, who was in the other Dune.
Yeah.
And Zardoz was Charlotte Rampling.
Okay.
The misdirect there being that Sean Connery, of course, was in Time Bandits. So you actually fell into all the traps that I meant you to, but you still came out on top.
Hooray.
Nice.
Yay.
I didn't, but hey, yay! Thank goodness Shane is smart.
Yes, Shane won that one. Well, you guys want to call it for this week? I think it's about time for us to go.
I think it's been plenty of fun.
Yeah. So that's going to do it for us here on What's on the Pile. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter at What's on the Pile. You can find us on YouTube. Just search What's on the Pile. Or you can visit our website, whatsonthepile.com. Thanks for hanging out.